Welcome to 2-Bit Gaming, and yes, I know it's another Stadia video, but we've got some really intriguing news ahead of Stadia's launch, so let's check it out. Hello and welcome to another news update. Yes, obviously it's about Stadia at the moment. The release date's coming pretty fast now, and I just wanted to bring you a little bit of news before we get our hands on it. We released a video about the potential launch titles on Stadia. The day that we released it, they then announced the 12 launch games. So we're just going to briefly touch on those. I won't go into them too much. We discussed these games in the previous video. So the 12 confirmed titles which you'll be able to play on Stadia at launch are Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I kind of guessed that probably would be. Destiny 2, we knew this already. Gylt. So me and Will were really hoping that this would be a launch title, and it turns out it is. It would have been crazy for it not to be. Just Dance 2020, couldn't give a rat's ass. Kine, okay, brilliant. Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, which I cannot wait to play. I know it's been out for a year or whatever now, but I've got a PC. It's only just come out on PC, but because I've ordered Stadia, I'm definitely going to play it on Stadia. Rise of the Tomb Raider, Samurai Showdown, Shadow of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, Thumper, and Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. You know, there's a bit of a mixed bag. Again, it's a bit muted for a launch, but I think it's going to gear up. I'm thinking of the positives, and it can only get better in my eyes. So this article from Extreme Tech confirms that obviously Google have announced other games, and again, Will and I went through those in our previous video, but it looks like Borderlands 3 will launch on Stadia in 2019, so within the next month, along with more titles like Rage 2, Grid, and Metro Exodus. So let us know in the comment section below what your thoughts are of the confirmed launch titles on Stadia. Next on the list, so Stadia sent their team of developers, or a team of developers, to work at Bungie for 6 months. What this article basically goes into, and it explains, where instead of Stadia and Bungie kind of working together remotely in a way, so you know, via emails, video conferences, and so on like that, Stadia actually sent a whole team of developers to Bungie, and they worked from Bungie's offices for 6 months, integrated themselves as part of Bungie's team to make sure that Destiny 2 ran on Stadia the way that they wanted it to. It allowed the Stadia developers to understand how Destiny 2 was run and made and how it played, and also allowed Bungie's developers to understand what Stadia was actually about and how to integrate and bring Destiny 2 to complete new platform, really. So there's a couple of points which I found quite interesting. So Stadia, basically, they hope to help Bungie see things differently when it comes to Stadia, saying fundamentally streaming represents a mindset shift for developers. It really must be. The other point, which was I found really great, was so basically the first time they got Destiny 2 running through Stadia inside Bungie's studio. Obviously, it was an incredible moment for us. One, he said he will never forget, but the real event was when they got it running on mobile. Seeing it on mobile was mind-blowing. I think it was the first time the team really felt it was real. It's easy to understand the excitement, as Destiny 2 running on a phone is certainly a sight to behold. And he said, I never get tired of watching the disbelief or skepticism turn to pure joy when someone tries it for the first time. A really interesting point. Even up until they got it running on mobile, the Bungie developers were skeptical of it actually working, even though they were putting time and money in porting it to Stadia. They were probably still like, is this actually going to work? And when that moment when it did, they obviously was like, wow, this is what we've done. This is we've got like a AAA game running on a mobile phone. It's just crazy. So the next point I stumbled across was a developer, a Stadia launch developer actually said game makers are worried Google is just going to cancel it because they've had a bit of history with starting quite large projects and plowing a lot of money into it, and then when it's not really taking off, then they pull the plug. However, the maker of Kine thinks Google wants to start small and scale slowly, which I think is probably actually the perfect way to do this. Initially, maybe I thought I wanted everything at once, and you kind of do when they've stated what the capabilities of Stadia will be. So when you don't have all of that at launch or from the get-go, then you're a little bit disappointed. But because it's such a big thing, I think I have to agree with this statement where maybe it's better to have a small, fairly underwhelming launch and then just scale it slowly and improve it over the coming weeks, over the coming months. This is the comment here. So the biggest complaint most developers have with Stadia is the fear that Google is just going to cancel it. So this is from Gwen Frey, a developer of Stadia launch puzzle game Kine. She goes on to say, nobody ever says, oh, it's not going to work, or streaming isn't the future. Everyone accepts that streaming is pretty much inevitable. The biggest concern with Stadia is that it might not exist. And this is pretty interesting. So while concerns about Stadia working correctly aren't quite as non-existent as Frey said, early tests show that the service works well enough in ideal circumstances, obviously with the correct download speed and bandwidth and all that. As for the service's continued existence, Frey thinks such concerns among other developers are kind of silly. She goes on to say, working in tech, you have to be willing to make bold moves and try things that could fail. Frey continued, and yeah, Google's cancelled a lot of projects, but I also have a Pixel in my pocket. I'm using Google Maps to get around. I only got here because my Google Calendar told me to get here by giving me a prompt in Gmail. It's not like Google cancels every fucking thing they make. I think that's is a great comment, to be honest, and it just goes to show that people, including myself, can focus on the negatives on things. Okay, Google's maybe gonna cancel Stadia because they cancelled all these other projects, but you don't really focus on the projects that they didn't cancel and the ones that are actually really quite good. And Google itself has made similar arguments in the past, it goes on to say. Stadia director of project Andrei Doronichev, probably got that wrong, sorry, said it in July that Google's commitment to Stadia is comparable to services like Gmail, Docs, music, movies and photos. Nothing in life is certain, but we're committed to making Stadia a success. Of course, it's okay to doubt my words. There's nothing I can say now to make you believe if you don't. But what we can do is to launch the service and continue investing in it for years to come. They're looking to treat this as a main staple of their products or one of their services, such as Gmail, Docs, these big services and applications that they provide. So the article goes on to say, elsewhere in the interview, Frey said she sees Google Stadia's launch strategy as a limited one that is pushing Stadia in a direction to compete with consoles. That means ports of console-style games that don't take full advantage of the power of Stadia's cloud data centers, as Google says future Stadia exclusives may do. It also means a focus on territories where there are a lot of consoles and where the internet is very good. So in the short term, I think it won't reach its potential. I don't even think they want to have a super strong launch. I get the sense that they want to scale slowly and see where this goes. In the longer term though, Frey said she has some undisclosed ideas about how to use Stadia's cloud power for unique experiences in the future, and she says she's excited about the impact cloud gaming could have once high-speed mobile internet access really goes worldwide. She goes on to say, if the worst thing you could say about a service is that it might not exist, then that sounds like a really good service to be part of. So she's got a point. So they're looking to compete with consoles, obviously. And in short term, she doesn't believe it's going to reach its potential. It's more long term, which Stadia have said themselves. And it's about scaling slowly, which could benefit Stadia in the long run. Next on the list, I think this is more about what Stadia and cloud gaming in general could bring to gaming. Grid is not my type of game. I've said this before. However, basically they're saying Grid on Stadia has a 40 car mode that just isn't possible on other platforms. This is pretty insane to have 40 players driving cars, right? And it be seamless and there's no lag or whatever. I think that's pretty phenomenal and just goes to show the power and the potential of cloud gaming. It's just highlighting the potential and the power available to developers now and what they can do with their games and what they can bring to their games based on what Stadia can give them as a package. I think there are going to be games in the future that are streamed on cloud gaming servers like Stadia, which are just going to be phenomenal. I think there's going to be games like open world games like GTA, and they're just going to be immense, and the depth and the detail within those games is just going to be mind-blowing. So it's exciting stuff. Next on the list, I think, is a very important point, and I read this today. Google is aiming to release new Stadia features weekly, including achievements. This is about the features which have been mentioned previously by Stadia, which Stadia will be able to provide, but they're not available at launch. And I mentioned in a previous video that I would like them to implement important features like the wireless capability of the controller and accessibility features, and this seems to confirm that. So basically, this article goes on to say, during Stadia's AMA, Google provided an overview of its approach to releasing features for Stadia. New functionality will come as soon as a week after launch and continue from that point onwards. The key user journey for Stadia is play the game on your biggest screen, and the day one experience of the Stadia controller only working wireless on TVs with the Chromecast Ultra bearing that out. It makes sense for the company to prioritize experience on most people's best screen, which is your TV, so that makes sense. So Google say, our approach to releasing features on Stadia is similar to how we run Google Search, YouTube, and other Google services. Gradual rollout and continuous improvement based on your feedback. We always start with nailing the key user journey and then proceed with releasing extra features. YouTube started with watch video. So director of product Andrei Doronichev, again, whether it's right, sorry if I've butchered your name, says Google is aiming to release new stuff weekly after the release date of the 19th. For example, games that support state share and crowd play will be released next year, while new features will start popping as soon as 1 week after launch. Related to that, a feature roadmap is achievements. According to publisher experience head Barry Lee, you will start achieving right away on Stadia with games automatically tracking from November the 19th. However, the platform UI for viewing your achievements and achievement notifications will launch shortly after. So the main thing to take from this is that yes, Stadia is not coming with all the features from day one, but these features are going to start rolling out within a week of launch, which I'm excited about, which I think needed to happen. And I really hope, again, like I said, the accessibility features and the wireless capabilities of the controller have to be at the top of the list, and then the other features trickle in after that. So the last point on the list is Gylt, obviously one of the launch titles on Stadia. It had a proper launch trailer come out. It's on YouTube. I'm going to play a little bit of it in the background, and as Will and I mentioned in our previous video, this is one of the games that we're most excited about. Apart from Get Packed, looks amazingly fun, but it's not obviously coming out until next year. Gylt looks like the one to play. The trailer shows off this eerie, creepy feel to it. It looks really interesting. It seems like the main character's friend Emily has gone missing, and she goes obviously to try to find her, and you explore this world of all these crazy creatures and monsters, and it feels like it's like hallucination type monsters. Is she just seeing these things? Is it in her mind, or are these real, or I don't know. So it'd be really interesting to actually play the game and see how it turns out. This was just a quick video to, again, a bit of a rundown of a bit of Stadia news before it launches. Please let us know your thoughts, and of course, ladies and gents, we will talk to you later. Bye bye.